Okay, so we've talked about how to deal with problematic shots by utilizing two tools. One, an effect, the video limiter effect, and the other by getting in and fixing the shots yourself. Obviously, the video limiter effect, if you don't have a lot of time and you have a ton of shots you need to fix, go that way. If you have a lot of time or you only have a few problematic shots that you need to deal with, then please get in and fix those shots correctly on a shot-by-shot basis. Now what I'd like to talk about is a situation where you have a shot, you're just starting from scratch, and how you're going to get started by doing a color correction on this shot. Now we're going back to the same effect, the lumetri effect. Now you're going to notice that this is going to be now the common thread inside of Premiere. You're going to be going to this effect for all of your color correction needs. And what we're going to do in this lesson is we're going to switch over to the color workspace. So let's do that. What I'm going to do is just navigate right up to the top here to the color tab. Let's hit it. Let's switch over, and you'll see now that we've got a great layout of both of our scopes. We have our sequence, and we have our lumetri color effect located over here on the right hand side of the screen. Now what I should point out is that you'll think that the effect has been applied to our shot, but if you head on over to the effects control window, you'll notice that no effect has been added to this shot until we get in and make an adjustment. Once we make that first adjustment, the effect will automatically be added to the shot for you, so you don't need to worry about doing that yourself. What I'm going to do is just undo what I just did, and we need to first start out by making sure that we have a reference, what we'll call a zero plane, to get in and start making some adjustments. Now what I mean by that is a white balance. What does a white balance do? A white balance is supposed to be done in camera when you are on location, but if for some reason your shots come back and the whites are not exactly white, they're a little bit bluish, that's when you're going to need to get in and do a white balance. A white balance inside of the lumetri color effect is very basic and very straightforward. All we need to do is to select the WB selector eyedropper, and we're going to choose something in the shot that's white. Now the easiest reference point for something that's white is our mother's shirt right here. I'm just going to select it right about here and say OK. Now you're going to notice immediately a big change in the shot. What I'm going to do is just turn the effect off, very blue, turn the effect on, very green. Now because we are out in the lush wilderness, I like this. I think this is more what the shot should look like as opposed to looking very blue like that. But what's very cool about the effect is that what we can do if we want to, you'll notice that we have a very warm color temperature right now, so this would be more of a sun setting type of shot. But you know what? Maybe this family likes to have, hot dogs cooked over the barbecue or over the fire pit first thing in the morning. So what we can do is just adjust the color temperature just like that to make this more of a morning shot than a night shot. But I like this right about there. Now what we could do now is get in and adjust exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows, etc., etc. For me, the only thing that I really would get in and adjust, and let's come back to our scopes, is if I wanted to just open up the exposure on the shot a little bit, I would just do that by just adjusting the exposure like that. Okay. Now in many cases, again, I find myself heading back down to the color wheels and not necessarily using the color wheels, but using the highlights, midtones, and shadow drag bars to get in and adjust this shot how I like. So the first thing I like to do is to have my black levels just to be a little bit darker, like that. I'm going to open up the shot's midtones like that, and we can bring our whites up. Now what's important to keep in mind is that her shirt is not 100% white, so I don't want to stick that all the way up at the top, just like that. And I got a bit of saturation room to play with here to get ourselves out to that 75% range. So all I'm going to do is just take the saturation, just drag it out a little bit, and I'm now happy with the way that this shot looks. Now, the biggest tell is always the before and after. This is the before, very blue and very dark. This is the after, very bright, very vibrant. Now what's also important to keep in mind is that I really don't have a reference as to what the previous shot or the next shot would look like, so that I would have this as a comparison. So how would I get in and do that besides clicking on each shot and back and forth? I'd really like to see them side by side. Well, how we're going to do that is with the reference monitor. I'm going to navigate up to Window. Let's choose Reference Monitor right here. I'm going to take the reference monitor, I'm going to put it right up here. I'm going to attach it to the top of that window. Let's make sure it's all the way over on the right. And what I can now do is drag back, and you'll notice that I'm not adjusting my timeline. This is a completely separate reference window that I can now come back and take a look at the shot before compared to the shot that we're working on, or even the shot afterwards, so that we can make sure that the color correcting that we're doing down the line all looks the same, all falls into that same nice warm look, so that when we're done at the end, we have one uniform look that the client's going to love, and you did it easily using the Lumetri color effect.